Welcome back to the channel. We are officially moved in. I wouldn't say settled in, but we are moved into the new apartment. Welcome to my new apartment. I'm not really showing it in this video, but where we're at right now is the brand new office slash podcast studio slash recording YouTube videos studio, recording course content studio, and I'm very, very excited. There's not much going on. This is gonna be the podcast area. There's gonna be some artwork. Anyways, Nyla, come. Show people how big you are. Say hi to everybody. How long this muffin is. Oh, okay. You think you can sit still? Oh, thank you. I love you. That was Nyla. She's a lot bigger now. I will give more dog updates, I promise. I am making this video because it's unconventional and I'm all about thinking about things differently. What I want to talk about are my 3 apartments that I've stayed in, that I've worked in, worked from home in, etc., etc. And as you can see, this is a brand new space, and so that's why I wanted to use the apartment as a symbol, because each apartment for me represents something different. It represents a stage in my life, but the decisions that I made to get to each place, I had to think differently, grow more, and become a different person. And that'll make sense in a little bit. And so my journey started obviously at home with my parents. I was living with my parents. I had my bedroom and my office in the basement. If you guys followed Rambling Road, you remember those days, the good old days. And I was trying to work my way up and get more clients and get more YouTube subscribers and like all these things, and start my creative business and live out my dreams, etc. When I graduated college and moved back in with my parents, I was there for, I think, over a year. I don't remember how long, but maybe a couple years, a year and a half, etc. And if I didn't do what I'm about to tell you right now, who knows, I might still be there 5 years later. And what happened was I got a video gig from Lewis Howes. And Lewis Howes is a very, very successful lifestyle entrepreneur. And I had the pleasure of doing a lot of really cool projects with him, etc., etc. And he was the one that told me that I need to move out of my parents' house as fast as possible, and to do it right now, and to put a date on it so that it became real. And he told me to get a place that makes me want to grow, that I have to grow in no matter what. And I might have taken it a step further, because when I did end up getting my first apartment as a full-time creative filmmaker, photographer, doing work with brands and influencers and things like that, I kind of went above his expectations in terms of the quality of the place. The place that I got was nice. And I mean, as a first apartment, it was pretty substantial rent for a first apartment for someone that is just starting their creative journey. And the reason why I'm saying this is because most people will tell you to check off all the boxes, to have 6, or I think it's even more, people tell you you have to have 8 months of rent saved up. So if you don't get another client, you know, you're good or whatever. And I took an unconventional approach and got an apartment that forced me to make more money, or else I would have to move back in with my parents. And I think that's a strategy that isn't really being talked about on the internet. And so that's why I'm making this video right now. And so that first apartment that I got, I had to find a way to make more money, or else I would have to move back in with my parents. And it's not like I would be a homeless person. So, you know, maybe if you're in a different situation, this decision is going to be a lot harder for you to make. Obviously, you know, I could have just moved back in with my parents, but at the time I was putting my entire life on the internet, and the embarrassment of having to move back in with my parents was motivation enough. And so when I was living with my parents, Even though I was making good money, especially with no bills, I was starting to grow, I was still subconsciously comfortable because I knew that I have no worries, right? And when you have a little bit of fear, a little bit of worry, you start to think differently. And so as soon as I moved into that first apartment, I started thinking differently. I started seeing more opportunities, and I started to become that creative entrepreneur that I'm becoming more and more today. And so that was my first apartment. It was something I was really, really proud of. I didn't check off the boxes. I just went for it, and it forced me to think differently, and I made more money because I had to. I didn't have a choice. If I didn't make more money, I would have to move back in with my parents. My income did not equal to the apartment that I got. So that was apartment number 1. Then apartment number 2 came around, and the decision that I had to make with apartment number 2 was I was moving from Chicago to Los Angeles, and all the people that I wanted to surround myself with that I knew would make me better were all in Los Angeles. They were all here. And I knew that proximity is power. It's one of the most powerful statements there is. And I knew that if I got close to these people on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, living here and being here, I knew my business would grow and I would accomplish more. As cliche as it sounds, you become the average of the 5 closest people you spend the most time with. And so I knew I had to get to LA, but the problem was I had a 12-month lease, and I think I was at the 7-month mark. 7 months. I didn't even make it to the 12-month lease before I knew I had to get to LA. And the only way that I could break the lease is if I found someone to replace me, to get a sublet, or to terminate the lease and pay a 3 times my monthly rent, which was a lot of money, especially for me at that time. Still is a lot of money to this day. And each moment that I'm explaining here were pivotal moments in my career. And so this specific moment, I think most people, including myself, I really wanted to do this, would have continued their lease, waited another 4 months to 5 months before the lease ended, and then moved to LA. But I knew that if I moved to LA now, I would be close to those people. Now I would start learning to grow my business more. Now I would learn to make and create more revenue for myself. Now everything that I would want would be happening now, and I would have to eat that chunk of change. And so instead of playing the safe route, I decided to eat that chunk of change and move to LA and consider it opportunity cost. And that's what that was, opportunity cost. Instead of waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, I jumped on the opportunity and I ate the money and moved to LA and moved into that 1-bedroom, 1-bath with my girlfriend. So that was decision number 2 that I made. We spent almost 2 years in that apartment, that 1-bed, 1-bath. I think actually we did spend 2 years in that apartment. 2 years too long, because I started to get comfortable. I was making more money than I have ever made. My business was growing. Then decision number 3, which gets us to this place today, was 2 years in the making. We lived in that 1-bedroom, 1-bath, 700, I don't know what the square footage, 700 square feet. We lived in that apartment for 2 years. Then we got a dog. We both worked from home. We were feeling so claustrophobic and just stuck. We were suffocating with each other, then with this new dog, then COVID hits. I mean, we just felt so claustrophobic. And the reason why we stayed there so long was actually not because of finances. We could have upgraded. We could have upgraded to this place a while back, but we didn't feel comfortable. I didn't feel comfortable with it, even though my business was doing better than the living situation that I was living in. That apartment was my comfort zone. That is what I felt like I deserved. That's what I felt like I was capable of, and really nothing more, even though financially I could afford something better. And then having thoughts like, oh, I should be spending my money and just putting everything into the business and blah, 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 and this and that. When there's so many more external factors that go into running and starting a successful creative business. Because if you're not inspired to create, if you're not in an inspiring space, if you're not surrounding yourself with inspiring people, how can you expect to create a business that is inspiring? And having an inspiring creative business produces a lot more sales, produces more results when you're inspired. Think about when you create content. Is your content better when you're inspired? Yeah, it's much better. And so if you don't put yourself actively in these places, you're doing yourself a disservice. But that was my comfort zone. And so moving into a place like this, yeah, financially, no problem. But all of these thoughts started running into my head like, do I really deserve this? What is my audience gonna think? Am I gonna be able to afford this a year down the road, 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road? All these different thoughts. And it's just interesting how our minds try to keep us at our comfort level, no matter how we feel, no matter how much we feel like we're ready for an up level. We're ready to take it to that next step. And up leveling is scary. Think about you guys right now that are trying to build your audiences, but the reason why you're not building your audience or growing is because there's something going on in your mind that's telling you it's not worth it. It's telling you that you're not good enough, that you're a fraud, that you have no right to be sharing your message. It's pretty insane. It's the same thing happening here. And so the reason why I wanted to share this video was to just shed light on what goes on behind the scenes here with my mindset, with my relationship, what each apartment symbolizes, and the decisions that I had to make to get here. And I hope you guys learned a little something, and know that even coming from me, who literally on paper, I'm living my dream life. I'm finally living my dream life. I've got income, I don't have to worry, I don't have money problems necessarily. I have different problems now where I've got employees, I've got people helping me, I've got a team that I have to provide for. And so my problems are different, they don't go away. And these mental things that happen never go away. So if you're someone that is just starting out, or you feel stuck and you're waiting to get to a certain point for your problems to go away, that's not true. Your problems will always be problems, they're just a little bit different. And your mentality around it, if you don't work on it, it will destroy you no matter how much money you make. So just to summarize, that first decision, the 3 decisions really. Number 1, I decided to not check off all the boxes and go for it and get something that makes me want to grow, that makes me feel inspired, and that forces me to play big. And number 2, I looked at a big fat hurdle and saw it as opportunity cost, and decided that I wanted my results now, and that I wasn't gonna wait, and knew that I was gonna be able to create more revenue for myself, whether that was with clients, customers, or whatever. I knew I was gonna make it happen. So I ate that chunk of change and went for it and played big once again. And number 3, I decided to level up and not stay in my comfort zone and play big. So every pivotal moment that I had, I hope you can see the theme here. Each decision scared the shit out of me. Each decision I had to play big, and each decision I had to just let go and trust that I was gonna catch myself on the way down. So I'm gonna leave it there. And then this puppy right here, this office, we're gonna do a full breakdown of the way I designed it, why I made those choices. The podcast, we got a new podcast sponsor. Shit is happening, and I wanna show more of it and not just leave you guys up in the air. But if you wanna know more right now, you can check out my Instagram at Zack Kravits. That's pretty much it. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.